I never consider myself, as you do, a part of an ethnic group.
I just wonder, doesn't it seem kind of deep to you that the fact that you have no answer to that could actually be a source of meaning, experience, or knowledge?
The opposite is how I feel about you, Victor. That you have no comprehension that the world is open to you. You think that the white man is a block and a dam to your progress, and he is not. I think you put up that dam and that block yourself, in your regard to the white man.
See, I think that's one of the major problems with racism. I think he did answer the question. As a white man, he doesn't have to think about his position in life, his place in the world. The history books tell him, as they are written, that this world is his. He doesn't have to think about where he goes, what he does. He doesn't have to think like a white person. The way the world has been set up, America in particular, white is human.
White is a human being.
Right. That's what a human being is. They step into a world that is theirs.
Back to the question of what it means to be white. I think what it means to be white, in part, is that you have the privilege of blaming people of color for their own victimization under white supremacy. I've heard you say that to me. I've heard you say that to him. I've heard you say that to him. I've heard you say it to him. I've heard you say it to every person of color in the room who challenged your perception of yourself in the world. That is part of what it means to be white.
Maybe that's part of the answer. That we feel that the field is wide open and each man can stand on his own.
No. Each man does not stand on his own. Some men stand on other men and other women. Light-skinned men from Europe stand on the heads and the hearts of men and women and children of color. That is, and of course you also stand on the heads of white women. But no, it's not a question of every man standing on his own ground. All of the ground, damn near, of this planet has been taken from almost all of the people of color on this planet. Australia was a black continent. Africa was a black continent. North America was a red continent. South America was a red continent. You are not standing on your own ground. You are standing on red ground. And that's what it means to be white. To say that you're standing on your own ground and standing on somebody else's. And then mystify the whole process so it seems like you're not doing that.
But when white folks were asked that question in 1963, when it was happening, when it was the present, not 60 years in the rearview mirror, and they were asked it by the Gallup organization in that year. The question was, do you believe black folks are treated equally in your community in education, housing, and employment? Now, come on, y'all, it's 1963. we know the answer. This is before the Civil Rights Act, before the Voting Rights Act, before the Fair Housing Act. It is the year of the March on Washington, the year that Medgar Evers is shot down dead in his driveway in Jackson, Mississippi, the year that Governor Wallace stands in the schoolhouse door at the University of Alabama and says, segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. It is the year that he turns those dogs and water cannons in Birmingham on those children at the behest of Bull Connor. So we know the answer to the question. This is not a hard pop quiz. The answer is no, but what do you think white Americans in 1963 said? 2 out of 3 answered the question yes. Everything here is fine. There is nothing to see. There are only 2 possible explanations for why the vast majority of white folks couldn't see the truth. Explanation number 1 is that white folks are just so stupid and ignorant and cold-hearted that they just can't see or just refuse to see. I don't happen to believe that's true. I think there's an easier and a more disturbing answer to the question, and it's about privilege. The reason white folks didn't know is because they didn't have to know.
His professional life has revolved completely around them, Neanderthals. This prehistoric human, who existed 42,000 years ago, lived to be about 40 years old. Only 16 bones have survived down the thousands of years. Is the key to unlocking the secret of the Neanderthal genome hidden in them?
He is the most famous German of all, but he is a European. He's the only species of human ever to have developed in Europe. And if there is a form of human being which represents Europe and the Europeans, then it is indeed Neanderthal man.
Time Neanderthals started disappearing from the fossil record, the ground beneath Italy started shaking. The land splintered across an area of almost 70 square miles. The entire surface of the Earth melted into the caldera below, which spewed out enough debris to become the largest volcanic event in the Mediterranean for 200,000 years. Known as the Campanian Ignimbrite eruption, it was made up of superheated gas, volcanic ash, and lava. No one knows the true extent of its devastation, but it caused an immediate and extreme ice age throughout Eastern Europe into Asia, maybe even the whole world. The entire Levantine region was engulfed. Almost everything Neanderthals needed died. Their food suffocated. Their water was toxic. The dead became food for the survivors. Animal species disappeared overnight. The giant buffalo went extinct. The woolly mammoth, steppe bison, water buffalo, the giant muskox, giant deer, all gone. The cave wolf disappeared. Most types of bear, all types of elephants, several rodents, and many more. These animals also happen to be the primary food source for Neanderthals.
What? No more tasty humans to eat?
As the earth around us burned, our ancestors went deeper underground. We took with us almost 40,000 years of knowing how to survive the constant threat of death. Some Neanderthals survived, but their numbers were dwindling fast. But Neanderthals could survive by mating with modern humans, right? Well, wrong. Nature intervened there too. As you would expect, most interbreeding was male Neanderthal and female human. They were biologically compatible, but not without problems. Male hybrid children were often sterile and couldn't pass on their Neanderthal DNA. Only female hybrids could. Human females, according to studies, preferred to mate with a human male, not a Neanderthal.
Unless the Neanderthal has money.
Interbreeding continued, but each generation of hybrids was more human than Neanderthal. But even though the first, well, let's call them interbreeding events, were tragic, the results were positive. By adding their DNA to ours, we created stronger immune systems. We became more adaptable to non-African climates. Our bodies became stronger and faster.
Usain Bolt, look at the time, 9:58 world record!
Technically, Neanderthals are extinct, but that's not entirely true, is it? Almost everyone on Earth carries a little bit of Neanderthal with them. If these traits were harmful or made us weaker, natural selection would have removed them from our genetic pool. But they didn't. Neanderthals were vicious predators who assaulted and devoured every animal they found, including us. But they were also resilient. So resilient, they're with us still. And now we benefit from their resilience. So like it or not, Neanderthals are here to stay.
So you can find in people of European and Asian ancestry evidence of about 7%, 5 to 10% of your genome is common with that of Neanderthals. We've been separated from them for 30,000 years or so. And in fact, the Africans who came out from Africa have no evidence of any Neanderthal genes in them. No evidence of admixture. So they're the real pure humans. Homo sapiens. Really, really interesting, and it gives you a lot to think about.
The Egyptians were called Kemits, and Egypt was called Kemet, the land of the black. No, it is not the black color of the Nile silt, which is mentioned as some archaeologists claim, but the color of the skin of the people living there. When we speak of white country, we are not referring to the color of the snow in the Alps. Look at all this scripture. You'll notice one thing. They all have broken noses. If one observes the statue and frescoes, the resemblance is striking. The nose, the big lips. Indeed, many statues have a broken nose because they had, as they say, a Negro noses. Herodotus said that Colchon was a colony of the Egyptians because they had black skin and curly hair. Book 2, Euterpe. The Colchon were an African colony which migrated to settle near the Black Sea. Aristotle also spoke of the Egyptians, describing them as excessively black. Those who are excessively black are cowards. They are the Egyptians and the Ethiopians. The Greek use 4 words to say black, dark brown: keleinos, eremnos, aiton, and melas. Melas is the most complete physical black. It is the root of the word that forms the word melanin. Let's give back to the Egyptian what belongs to the Egyptian. The Egyptians of the pyramid for millennia were Negroes, neither olive-skinned nor mulatto, but charcoal black.
The Egyptians memorialized and imprinted their negritude in granite and quartz for eternity. What must we do? Destroy them to erase this era of humanity? Hide them? Speak out? Say nothing? Ask yourself these questions. Imhotep was the greatest scientist of humanity, and the Negroes of Africa gave their knowledge, chemistry, architecture, geometry, mathematics to all other peoples. And in return, what did they receive as a reward? Centuries of slavery, suffering, misery, massacres, and it never ends. The looting and insult to Africa continue today. What if we finally all share our riches? It's time for humanity to mature.
Touch anyone's retirement or anyone who's been promised in, but we go to people like my kids in their 20s when they're coming into the system and we say the rules have changed. We change retirement age to reflect life expectancy.
What's the right age there then, Ambassador?
We've got to figure out what it is, but what we do know is 65 is way too low.
You are not going to get millennials, especially Gen Zers, to work till they're 70 years old. There's no incentive anymore. At least 30 years ago, the incentive was you could work 40 hours for 40 years, afford a home, afford a living, have retirement, and have hope. You took those incentives away from the younger generations. You want them to work 40 hours a week for 50 years without being able to buy a home, with living paycheck to paycheck, working 40 hours? You want them to work 40 hours in corporate America plus commute and then drive Uber on the weekends just to afford groceries? Corporate America needs to change their incentive. Where's the 4-day work week? Where's the more than 12-day PTO? Where's the 9 to 3 job with the same pay instead of 8 to 5:30? You need to change the incentive. You have corporate America bragging about corporate profits at an all-time high, and yet middle-class people can't buy a house and get by and putting groceries on credit cards. That's the America we live in. We have people working at multi-billion-dollar organizations who have to apply for government assistance, working 40 hours a week. This is an American problem. This isn't Nikki Haley. This is a left, right, center. I don't care where you are politically. This is an American problem that has just arose 2-3 years ago, and we need to work together to fix this for the millennials and Gen Zers and future generations.